Yali Madad, everyone. Welcome to our Ismailis for Harris Town Hall event. For today, we have two objectives. Our first one is to create buzz, excitement, and hope. Yes, hope surrounding Kamala Harris's policies and her candidacy. And number two, most importantly, we want to leave you all with tangible action steps and the courage to do it and take those steps in order to reach out to the people in our lives who are not politically active, who might be on the fence, or might just need a little nudge to come out and vote on or before November 5th. It's important to disclose that this is a grassroots initiative. We're not registered with the Federal Election Commission, nor do we represent or are affiliated with the Jamaati institutions. We are so lucky to have a number of Harris campaign representatives on the call here today. And so I'd love to kick it over to Brenda or Nasrina to share updates from the campaign trail. And how can we get involved, Brenda?
Hi guys, Nasrina Bargzi here. I'm the Director of Outreach for Arab American and Muslim communities. I'm also a policy advisor on the campaign. I'm so delighted that we get to be in conversation with you all tonight. Brenda and I, when we were both in the administration, I was previously the Vice President's Deputy Counsel for 3.5 years. One of the areas that we both handled in our respective admin roles was Islamophobia, anti-Arab hate, and all of those types of issues. And I got an opportunity to work closely with the Ismaili community there. So I'm glad to be in community with you guys today. And I think Brenda can talk a little bit about what we have upcoming.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Brenda Abdalal. I'm Nasrina's deputy here in Arab and Muslim outreach on the campaign. We are calling from the great state of Michigan as we continue to travel through the battleground states as we head into this final stretch. For those of you that are looking for opportunities to lean in, we just left the Dearborn office where it was a buzz. There were over 30 volunteers in and out, headed out to knock on doors. They've done thousands of doors over the past 10 days now. And inshallah, there'll be many more. But we also have phone banking opportunities that are happening through what we call our affinity groups. There is a Muslims for Harris Walls and a Muslim Women for Harris Walls group. And there's also an Arab American for Harris Walls group. And you can find them on Instagram, you can find them on Twitter and the other social media sites that I don't use as often, but those are the main ones on Instagram where you can communicate with them. And that's also where they post opportunities for phone banking, things that you can easily do right from home. And for those of you, I know both Nasreen and I, we just hopped on because we wanted to say thank you and welcome to everyone. But as you have this conversation, if you have questions specifically for the campaign, Samir, you know where to find us, and we'll be happy to follow up with you on any questions. Thank you all so much.
Thank you all. Keep up the good work and safe travels. We are also very lucky to have Texas State Representative Salman Bhojani on the call today, along with former New Hampshire State Representative Safiya Wazir. They'll share some remarks here today, and we will also engage in Q&A afterwards. Please enter your questions in the Q&A tab. And because we're running on a very tight schedule here today, we'll only be selecting a few, and we'll be selecting the most respectful and action-oriented questions. Without further ado, Representative Bhojani, please take it away.
Thank you, Samir. Good afternoon. Assalamu alaikum, Yali Madat, and howdy, y'all. My name is Salman Bhojani, and I have the privilege of representing Dallas-Fort Worth at the Texas Capitol. 2 years ago, we made history, alhamdulillah, when I was elected as one of the first Muslims and the first South Asians ever elected to the Texas legislature. Thank you so much for having me, Samir, and for organizing this event. And thank you to my co-panelist, former New Hampshire State Representative Safiya Wazir, for joining us. And most importantly, thank you to all of you that are here today. I know this is a busy time for everybody, and it's a stressful time for a lot of people. But let me tell you one thing. In 2016, November, I felt as the votes were coming in from different precincts across the country, I was just appalled by what has just happened. And at that time, it was too late. And I felt like I should have done more. And I tell you this because let's not be in that same boat again. At least I was, and a lot of people that I know, a lot of Ismailis I know, a lot of Muslims that I know were in the same boat. So I want to make sure to let people know that get out and vote and bring your families, bring your neighbors, bring your friends out. So one of the reasons I hear a lot from people that do not vote routinely, they say, especially in Texas, and they say, how is my one vote going to matter? Let me tell you quickly, in my election, what happened. So in 2017, as soon as we elected a former president and he took power, I got politically motivated because I felt Muslims and South Asians have been on the menu for far too long and that we needed a seat at the table so that we can shape the policy in this country. And so I ran for city council in Euless, in my city of Euless, Texas. And in 2017, I lost by a few hundred votes. But in 2018, I won in a very, very competitive election where there was a lot of Islamophobia. There was a lot of people attacking me. But we knocked on so many doors. We got out the vote. Yet I only won that election by 37 votes. And I made history by being the first minority ever elected in the history of the city of Euless. And so just by 37, think about that, right? If 37 people had stayed home, I would not be elected to Euless City Council and I would have not run for the state office. So don't think that your one vote is not going to matter because it is going to matter. One of the also reasons I'm here today is I feel there's only one rational choice in this election, which is to support Vice President Kamala Harris. Staying home or throwing your vote away on a third-party candidate puts our former president, Donald Trump, 1 inch closer to being back in the Oval Office. And we know what the former president will do when he comes in office. We have seen that movie before, right? Like I said, in fact, I'm here today as a state representative because he did all those horrific things. So let me tell you just 3 reasons why we as a Muslim community in America cannot support our former president. First, in January, as soon as he took office in January 2017, during his first week in office, he signed a ban of individuals from 7 Muslim countries. And our brothers and sisters in faith were detained at airports across the country simply for being Muslims. And you all know that it took the courts to end that racist policy. But we cannot rely on the Supreme Court this time around for obvious reasons. Second reason, he appointed the most Islamophobic people to positions of power in the national stage, in the whole government, a whole federal government. And again, to my last point, also includes judgeships. The third, he spewed a lot of hateful rhetoric against Muslims that led to so many hate and violent crimes against our community. Just the other day, his former chief of staff was saying, and former chief of staff was the closest to him. He admitted that he believes that the former president meets the definition of a fascist. And Trump has made this no secret that he desires to exclude all Palestinians from Gaza and from the West Bank. He is also one who strongly encouraged the Israeli embassy move from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. He has cozied up to Benjamin Netanyahu so closely that Netanyahu unveiled a new settlement in Golan Heights named after Trump. And just today, it was reported that Trump told Netanyahu, do whatever you need to do. And they speak quite often on a regular basis. And he's made it very clear that he's not trying to win majority of Americans. He and his loyalists are instead trying to intimidate opponents and prevent them from voting at all. But let me tell you the contrast, right? On the other hand, we have Harris and Walz's campaign. They're inclusive. They're lifting up America. They're not saying America is bad or whatnot. They're bringing people together instead of dividing them and putting a wedge in the middle. They're strengthening our democracy, right? The other person is saying that if you vote for me once, you'll never have to vote again. And that's just very ridiculous to even say and think about that we're going to have an authoritarian regime. And one thing that people don't know that in the current administration, I know there are a lot of flaws, right? We're not talking about perfect people here. The current administration has appointed more than 25 Muslim Americans at the national level in the Biden-Harris administration. That has never happened before, never, right? And the other administration, actually, there were no Muslim Americans there as well. So my brothers and sisters, I just want to let you know, election is coming up. It is our duty and it is our privilege also to vote in this election and get out and make sure that everybody is voting. And there are concerns. I mean, I understand what's happening in Gaza and what's happening in West Bank is not fair. I totally understand, there's a lot of community members that are saying that this is not good for us. The current administration has not been good. I'll tell you 2 things about that quickly. One thing is that Vice President and constitutionally has only two roles in America, right? One is, and one of them she has exercised, one of them she's not. So one of them is when there's a tie-breaking vote needed in the Senate, that is the only time the vice president can come in and break that tie, and Kamala Harris has done that. The second thing that constitutionally required by, or constitutionally the role of vice president is to take over when something happens to the president. Nothing has happened to the president. So, when people say, oh, she's been part of the administration, why is she not doing that? Well, President Biden doesn't have to listen to her, right? She can affect policy to a certain degree, but he doesn't have to listen to her. Second thing I'll tell you is we have to be looking at us, ourselves, our children, and our future generations in America, right? We cannot be a single voter issue and say, okay, the current administration has failed us, has funded genocide, has not done a ceasefire. All that I understand, and my heart pours out to our brothers and sisters in Gaza and West Bank. I'm not against that at all. But I'm being a little practical and saying that if our community in America is marginalized by the Trump administration, if he becomes president, guess what? We're not going to have enough money. We're not going to have power to affect any legislation for foreign policy, right? At least Vice President Harris, if she becomes president, she will listen to us. She will try to do something and at least not marginalize the American community here. She's obviously not, So I've actually met her and celebrated Eid at the Naval Observatory. As vice president, she held that. President Biden invited me to the White House for celebration on Ramadan, and I had to present a bill on the House floor, and I couldn't. So, I'm just telling you, this administration has flaws, but we are going to have big issues in our community if the other candidate is elected. So with that, I'll turn it back to Samir. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much for your thoughts. I hear two things. I did not know you won in an election with only 37 votes. That's a remarkable story. And thank you so much for immediately addressing what is on the forefront of many Muslims' minds. We will further expand on it, but thank you for sharing your unique insights, given that you have met Kamala Harris and you believe in our community's ability to influence the administration, if we are so lucky that is the case. Safiya, would you please also follow up and share your thoughts, please?
Thank you so much, Samir, and assalamu alaikum wa ya ali madad to all our Ismailis in this panel, and thank you so much to my co-panelist, Salman, for sharing a wonderful thoughts of yours regarding this campaign. As many of you know, I am Safiya Wazir, former representative from state of New Hampshire. I served 2 terms, which is 4 years. And due to relocation of my district, I have to resign from my seat due to moving out of the district. For that being said, I was elected for 2 terms and the first Afghan Muslim refugee to be elected in the state house. And that was something that was unique to our state that had 95% white population. With that being said, I just wanted to quickly rebrief what my colleague Salman has said. It is very important to know that in this election, what's at stake. And every election, your voice, your attention, your participation is matter. And it's vital to participate in this election to your local, federal, and state. We all know that some positions we can't do a lot because we have a day-to-day changes in our lives that it prevents us from being to be committed to our communities. However, remember that many of us came to this United States with one hope for ourselves and one hope for our future generation. And for that reason, voting is an essential part of our turning those dreams into reality. And that was something that I exercised my dream into reality. When I became US citizen back in 2013, and the first thing I wanted to do is to participate into the democracy and being able to vote. I understand that some of us are very busy with work and commitments, and which can limit our ability to serve as a public officials and be out there in our communities. I totally understand that. I am a full-time mom of 3 children. I hold position in the state government and still find time to be able to do go out the vote and campaign for Harris and up and down the ballot. I am actually committed to do all-day event tomorrow for Kamala Harris and our elected officials down the ballot. However, please don't be hesitant to hold back yourself. There are so many ways that you can do small and big that can impact and beneficial one campaign from up and down. I understand that you could think about voting only takes few moments, but you can also get involved and do more about that. We all know that volunteers are vital to any candidates when they're running for offices. Without volunteers, candidates cannot effectively run for offices to get the word out and hold position that brings positive changes to our cities and towns and countries that we reside. I'm grateful that our Ismailis around the community, around the state, are rising to make the significant impact by educating others about civic engagement. And I'm here teaching everyone about civic engagement and how important it is. And the importance of voting for the right candidate. There's so many great points Salman has already mentioned. And with that being said, I'm voting for Kamala Harris for so many reasons. She stands with working families like yours and mine, and is committed to moving us into a better direction, such as healthcare, housing, childcare, employment, and regarding so many other challenges that you and I see day to day. So with that being said, in this election, it is very important to go out and bring your mom, your dad, your aunt, your neighbor to cast that vote, because one vote makes a whole lot of difference. And I have been there. One vote will make a difference, and we can make a difference. So thank you so much, Samir, and I'll pass it to you.
Thank you so much for your background and your incredible story. We will be distilling the Q&A and tailoring it both to Representative Bhojani and then also to you as well, Safiya. I would also like to announce that we have another representative from the Harris campaign, the coalition's lead from the Harris campaign, with us today. Alicia, please also jump in on the Q&A if you so feel compelled. But firstly, I'd like to orient towards Representative Bhojani. Please provide us with a little bit more information about what you both expanded on. How can we speak to people who are considering third-party candidates for this election? And please tell us more about the mechanics of voting and how that decision, that if you will, protest vote, can have dire implications. So please, Representative Bhojani or Alicia, please expand more on what we can do to talk to people in our network about.
Yeah, I believe, it's pretty clear that, I think CNN and other news outlets have said that, the third party candidates are not, they have like less than 1% chance of winning at all, if that is the case anyways. They're not going to have. So what we're trying to do is, if by choosing that, it is a protest vote, right? And that's taking away votes from Kamala Harris, or, if people were going to choose Republican, then it takes away votes from Trump. But I think we want to make sure our votes count in the right manner, right? And if it is just to punish somebody, the current administration or whatnot, I think we're wasting our vote, in my opinion, right? Every person, again, I'm not trying to say that they should not do this or not. I mean, everybody votes in the way that they feel that's right. I'm just trying to be practical in saying that if we have this opportunity, right, not a lot of our brothers and sisters are eligible to vote. Maybe they're on a green card, maybe they're on a visa, maybe they're, illegal immigrants as well. They're trying to get by day to day. What administration will help our community, right? We've seen one administration which has not been helpful at all. In fact, they've hurt our community more than ever before. So why would we even think about doing that? And so if we're saying, okay, we agree that we are not going to vote for Trump, and if that is the assertion that we have, then there is no point in voting for a third party candidate, because we're taking votes away from Kamala Harris, who could actually have a much more inclusive, administration and will do a lot more for our community.
Alicia, please chime in. Welcome.
Yes, of course, Yali Madad, everyone. Sorry for hopping out a little late. Got caught up in some work-related matters. I am here on the ground in Michigan, one of the key battleground states that we have to win this election cycle to get Kamala Harris to the White House. And as somebody who is Ismaili and is working on the Harris Walz campaign, I can tell you that every vote counts. Every single vote counts. Every single number counts. And we have to do what it takes to get Kamala Harris to the White House, because the opposing side, the opposing side has some detrimental effects to our community and to who we are as Muslim. And so I want to say that with this notion of every vote counts, if you are thinking of a protest vote in any sort of way, it's difficult to say, because I am somebody who empathizes a lot with a lot of the concerns that folks have. But that being said, what Kamala Harris has done to be able to stand up on the stage of the DNC and to advocate for the rights of Palestinians. She was the first person in the administration to call for a ceasefire. She was the first person in the administration to stand up for Palestinian human rights. I personally would not want anyone other than her making those decisions. And so voting for a third-party candidate and voting for Jill Stein would mean taking away votes to be able to elect Kamala Harris, who is somebody who can actually make a difference on the problems you care about and on the problems that are affecting us, versus Donald Trump, who has tarnished our country, embedded it with so much Islamophobia, so much hatred, so much xenophobia, and has just split this country up, has completely broken any sort of unification in this country, and has put targets on us, on people like us, on minorities and on Muslims, and has done nothing for the rights of Palestinians, and will do nothing as well. And so all I ask is bear that in mind when you go to the polls, and please make sure you vote. It is a privilege to be able to vote. A lot of our families and a lot of our Ismaili brothers and sisters come from places where they don't have that right to vote. They don't have that privilege. They grew up in countries where they don't have the privilege of living in a democracy. So please exercise your vote and exercise your privilege, and think about the consequences that a future Trump administration may have when you do go to the polls.
Thank you so much. Now, Safiya, we have another question, and I quote, "How can we support a candidate who is not progressive?" And I'm consistently reminded of your background as a refugee. You're a mother of 3. Perhaps this is a different way of thinking about things with this experience. So again, this is a kind of version of the same question. How can we support someone that is courting the center of the spectrum, so to speak, and is not progressive?
So it is very important. Thank you so much, Samir, for the question. So it's very important for us to realize what is the the situation is, or what is the candidate standing for. So as an example that I can give you, that I have been in the campaign trail for Harris Walz up and down the ballot this year, and I am gearing up myself for tomorrow to do a get out the vote for the final stretch, is that I come across a lot of people that question me as, what have Harris done? And then the answer I have is someone who has been in the office and can give a positive reflection to what has been done is compare the former President Trump versus Kamala Harris and see the differences. And with the hatred that we had for the past 4 years ago and the positivity that we have received for the past for the current 4 years is significant. I feel much comfortable being out in my community in the rural area, and being out there door knocking has shown me that there is a progress. There's a progression that is happening. If it was during a Trump and I could not go out, and I fear for my own life that I would not go out to door knock for being single person to door knock someone's house. So right now I can do that because I feel more confident. I feel more comfortable because of Biden and Harris administration has done so much that brought us back to unity. And I would like to see that to happen more. And I would like to see that them bringing us into unity and bringing us closer. And I understand that there's a lot of situation happening with Gaza and plus Palestine. And think about it. If you think about this situation for a second, having the third party and the second party come on board and think about it, what is going to happen. We will be going back in 100 years. And this will affect us. And this will affect you, your future, your generation, my generation, and my children's generation. Because we haven't still overcome the barriers and the difficulties that we went through 4 years ago with Donald Trump.
Thank you so much.
So having a solid conversation and comparing both of them, it's a unique way. And I have done that a lot of time when I'm out there campaigning for Harris Walz and up and down the ballot for our elected officials. And this is the comparison that I do. It's like, compare it, see it. Because all we do is hear one word or one ad from here and there, and you cannot really combine them or connect one each other because we're so busy. I understand that. And when we are busy, we just go with the most common ad that we see. It's like, okay, I saw that and I heard that radio, it's going to be all right, so I'm just going to vote. Say, for example, we have a governor race in our election this year too. Joyce Craig is a governor running for Democrat running for governor, and Kelly Ayotte is running for governor as well as the Republican. So those are ads that we hear and are not so dived in. You don't understand the differences. So when you have a conversation with individuals, you get to hear them more, you get to hear the differences. And that's where the conversation begins between each other, between your neighbors to neighbors. And that's where you understand who is who. So thank you.
I love that point. Yes, peer accountability and conversations is a huge driver of voter turnout. One last quick question for Representative Bhojani before he leaves from his busy schedule is, a lot of Ismailis, particularly older Ismailis, vote based on the perception of how the president will impact their taxes. A large number of Ismailis fall into higher tax brackets. How do we convince them to vote for Harris, unquote?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I get that quite a bit, but I think we need to look at not just the short-term effect on taxes, but the long-term effect, right? Do we want to, I mean, the way I think about it, we want to leave this world a better place for our children and their grandchildren. Now, let's think about that. If we want to do that, should we leave them with trillions and trillions of dollars of tax, or not tax, but trillions and trillions of dollars of debt, national debt? Our national debt has just skyrocketed. And the more we give tax break, it doesn't help our country, it doesn't help our communities, especially with look at all the natural disasters that are happening in Florida, Texas, Georgia. That's going to cost a lot of money to taxpayer. Our Medicare is under attack, that we're not going to have enough funds. So we need to be thinking about our country as sort of like a business, right? That we want to make sure that we have enough money to sustain a long time, 50, 100 years from now. And so that's what I would say, that I don't think it's the Democrats are going to increase your taxes and Republicans are going to reduce their taxes. They're going to have to do something about it. Any administration that comes to power will have to do something about taxes, or will have to do something about our national debt. And as we can see here, because of this tussle that's going on in Congress, I mean, for 3 weeks, we didn't even appoint a speaker, let alone anything to do with taxes. So I think we'll have to talk about, and Democrats can also reduce taxes for small business owners. And that's what Kamala Harris talks about. How can we help the small business owners? And most of our Ismaili community members are small business owners. So there are tax reliefs for the small business owner from the Democratic Party. I think that's been just sort of a misnomer that has been going on in our country for a long time, that Republicans are good for reducing taxes, Democrats are good for increasing taxes.
Thank you so much. There's one more action-oriented question, which I think it's directed to Alicia, but I think I can chime in as well. Alicia, what are you doing specifically with the Ismaili community? And also, what do you recommend to others to do in their local Jamaat? Alicia first, and then I'll chime in with a couple of different initiatives going on nationwide.
No, definitely. So as you all are probably aware, we have been in this race for 70 days, very unlike any other race that we've had ever in history. And so that means that we had a lot of catching up to do. We were, going full steam since July 21st, when the president dropped out. And so when I came on, we had a sort of established coalition for Muslims and Arab Americans, which I work on. But though it is like, we have an umbrella branch, but it hasn't been fully it wasn't fully established. It hadn't been fully developed to the capacity that we wanted it to. And so I've been working with the team to be able to launch an Ismailis for Harris Waltz affinity group, which Samir here has done a lot of the work for us by organizing this call, and also working on getting some branding and some of the things that we offer to our other affinity groups for our Ismailis. We've also been connecting with a lot of Ismaili voters in Georgia, a key battleground state for us this election cycle. As we know, the Jamaati population in Georgia is substantive, and it is essential and critical that we get our Ismailis out there to vote and to be informed on their vote, essentially. And so we've begun outreach to the Ismaili community in Georgia. In broader perspective, we've done a lot of outreach to the Muslim and Arab American community in general across the country. I'm currently in Michigan for that reason. We have had the vice president come out to Michigan, meeting with Muslim community leaders backstage of her rallies. We have been endorsed by several imams. We've launched Black Muslim Americans for Harris Waltz. We also have the General Muslim Americans for Harris Waltz as well. And just continuing to get our principals out and our surrogates out to engage with the community one-on-one through conversations because of how heavy and sensitive a lot of the issues that they're concerned with tend to be. And so we've been doing a lot of Muslim American general outreach as well. But that being said, we do have 12 days to go, I think is today. So the race to the finish line is very, very close. So we don't have much time, but then again, we did come into the race with less than 70 days. So anything is possible at this point. But that is some of the work that we've been doing. As for what you can do within your communities, what I found best is just having very important and very informative conversations really, really works. I think one thing that has really affected and bothered a lot of folks in our community that we've been trying to work on is the sense that they're not being heard, the sense that their concerns are not being heard by us, and their concerns aren't being validated, or that we're not approaching their what they're concerned about and the issues that they feel strongly about. And so personally, and this is something that my whole team has done, is really approaching voters through dialogue, and having these really important discussions, whether it's one-on-one, whether it's, sitting on a call for 30 minutes with a voter who came up to us during the canvassing event with questions upon questions as to why should they vote for Kamala Harris when they're upset with all these things. Even if it's just one person, sitting on Zoom with them for 30 minutes to an hour, just taking that time out and really having that informative conversation with them goes a long, long way. And that's what we have been doing for the past 70 days, just really trying to do as much outreach to the community as possible and informing them on the work that the Vice President has done on this issue. And so resources that I can provide is a public fact sheet that the Harris Falls campaign has for Muslim American voters. I shared it with Samir, which basically outlines all the work that the Vice President and Governor Walz has done for Muslim Americans that you can use as sort of a resource when you do have conversations with folks in Jamaat Khana or in your communities. But I think personally that is the best way that I have found for me to be able to reach these folks, and also encouraging people to vote. I cannot stress how important it is to vote this election. Every vote counts. It is going to be tight. It's going to come down. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. Khizr Khan, he spoke at the DNC in 2016. He's a Pakistani American Gold Star father. And he said this phrase to me, which I hold very closely to my heart, is this election won't be won by the margin of error. It'll be won by the margin of effort. And so that effort is in our hands. So continuing those conversations and encouraging your community to vote is, to me, the best way to be able to win this election, essentially.
Alicia, thank you so much for all the hard work and the effort, as you put it, going on the campaign trail. Thank you also. We thank you all for addressing the biggest topic that is on everybody's minds, but also thank you for maintaining a forward-looking perspective where we protect other Black and Brown brothers and sisters who would undoubtedly be worse under a Trump administration. So following on your point, Alicia, I do want to break down our effort into three simple points. We wanted to leave everybody with 3 action steps that they could take to tangibly make an impact over the next 11 days. So we would love everybody, if they can, to scan the QR code on the screen, which will take them to the official Muslim Votes for Harris Walz WhatsApp group. This includes curated content directly from the Harris campaign, specifically designed to combat misinformation and to make it easy for us to share accurate information in our forums and in our other groups. We will also send the website link through a follow-up email after the town hall today. The second thing we would love everyone to do, and we would encourage everybody to do, and it is a theme for today, is to have one conversation in person or on the phone, not online, with someone in our networks who we believe is not politically active, is on the fence, or we know has not voted in prior elections. Everybody agrees this is the election to turn out for. And so we encourage everybody to have the courage to reach out to that person we all know in our life and help them make a voting plan on or before November 5th. It could be as simple as having them navigate early voting, their mail-in ballot, or offering to pick them up on the way to the poll on or before November 5th. And lastly, if the first two steps isn't enough for everybody, we encourage them to reach out to me directly, and as we will plug you in to make an impact over the next 11 days. If you are looking for Harris-aligned resources for you to share personally, I will send you those resources and content that you can share with your personal friends and family. If you're looking to engage in nonpartisan voter outreach initiatives through Jamaat Khanas or through the Jamaati institutions, we have toolkits available, and we will connect you to people in Khane who are tabling at Khanes or conducting their own get out the vote nonpartisan efforts. So please reach out to us today. Let's get to work, and we'll see you all soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yali Madad.
Yalimdad.